So it's still Nvidia week, and Monday we talked about the advancements that Nvidia has made. We also talked about some of the headwinds that they were facing, some decrease in GPU sales within the gaming industry. We talked about the fact that the Blackwell may be postponed a bit, which would then affect orders coming from the buyers of the GPUs. So, and then we talked about the competition. Then yesterday I talked to you about future pricing and how I analyze stocks and how I'm confident about what I believe the price will be in January of 2027, but I'm not so sure what it will be in September of 2024, just next week. So what I want to do today, with that all behind us, and I hope you've watched those two videos, what I want to talk about now is what do we do today? What do we do to protect the profits, in my case, that I have, so that I don't lose them? And so I want to bring in some more technical analysis. And so I'm going to switch over to a Zoom call, and I'm going to bring in Trent and Mark, and we're going to look at some charts, and we're going to create an action plan for today. Here is our team. Trent and Mark have gathered. Mark actually made a trip down to our I guess it would be west to California. He's sitting in front of NVIDIA's headquarters. So we're right on top of this. Trent, why don't you lead us in with what your perspective is on what's going to happen this evening and how we might react to it?
So, absolutely. Thanks, Terry, and thanks, Mark. So I look at this from a perspective of a trader. And traders look at markets based on support distribution levels. And there's support and resistance. And when I look at NVIDIA on a daily chart, and I go back to beginning of the year, I see support and resistance levels. I see where a lot of money a bank or a hedge fund has put in buy orders in big blocks and sell orders in big blocks. And so I'm going to share with you a chart of what I'm seeing and what I think will result in the coming tonight's earnings. So can you see this chart here?
Yes.
Okay, so let me describe what you're seeing here. These green areas are areas of liquidity. This is where there's a lot of liquidity there. And this is where if you're a bank or a hedge fund or a trader who's moving a lot of money around, this is where you're shooting for to get out of a position. The red position is where you're looking to buy. This is where the retail market is selling out of this. They create a lot of liquidity in this area, these areas. And so they come in, the institution comes in, they buy a position or build their position in their portfolio, and then eventually start pushing the stock up. So you have resistance levels and support levels. And what I flashing over here to this week, or actually today, what I'm seeing here is a big resistance level or liquidity level that was started in June of this year on the 20th, and has become an area of liquidity for those who are selling into rallies. And so I see this big block here that started back on July 8th or continued on July 8th and really got aggressive on July 11th as a big area of resistance. And so if I look at August 19th through today, there is a real similar area where it's starting to hit where there's liquidity and these institutions are selling into their positions. They got a great opportunity to
What do you mean
buy.
selling into their, what do you mean selling into their positions?
So
That's too contrary.
selling into a position. So they have a position. They
Right.
have bought at a low rate. And now, as the stock pushes higher, as we saw from August 5th throughout the days since then up until today, they're selling. They've made
Out
their
of their,
profits and they're slowly dollar cost averaging out.
Okay.
So most people think of dollar cost averaging into a stock. So you buy it at different prices for a long-term hold. They're doing the same, but in reverse. They're dollar cost averaging out of their position and taking profits. So if they
Okay.
bought heavily from July 30th through August 13th, they've built a position in this. And then as this thing moves higher, they start to dollar cost average out and take profits. And
Okay.
that's where you've seen since August 19th through today, this basically channel that has been built. Now, tonight, I believe they'll come in line with their earnings. There will be some talk about the delay in their latest product. I believe it's called the Blackwell chip.
Yeah.
Um, and they'll shine a little bit of light um, on the possibilities of a good third and fourth quarter. Okay. And that will give the market or the institutions this area where in the last 2 days, they've accumulated at basically $1 billion worth of Nvidia stock as of yesterday in the black pool market, which is a market where big institutions are trading amongst each other that you and I don't see. So there was about $1 billion purchased on the 26th of Nvidia stock. My thinking is they've added to a position, or sizable institutions have added to their position. They'll get some level of level-headed response from Nvidia with their earnings. They'll come in line with earnings. They'll come in they'll be optimistic with guidance, and this stock will pop up to about 134 to 140 range. The institutions will dollar cost average out, and they'll sell out of this, and they'll bring it back down to around 76.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
So if you're a bank, you're a hedge fund, you don't think in time, you think in support and resistance, distribution levels. You're distributing from one asset class to another asset class. And what I see here is a distribution channel. I don't think with the economic situation we have presently today and the likelihood that the Fed will lower rates semi-aggressively starting in mid-September, that is a good showing on our overall economy. And I see a delay of some level in Nvidia's sales, especially with the delay in the Blackwell chip, but also a delay in just the economic growth of the world. And so when I look at this chart, I'm like, if I'm an institution, I have made my money since the 5th of August. I've dollar cost average out. I've come in, I bought a little bit more so I can get a pop of probably at the most, probably $13. And I've got $1 billion worth of this. I'm going to make my last, ditch hope on this, run it up to 135, 140, turn around and go short on it pretty heavily and go to, watch it fall and make money that direction.
Okay.
So
With
that's my take.
okay, with that, I would say, if you're right, what I need to do is hold what I have. Um, and if it does go up, tremendous, but I need a stop loss order to protect me from what you're predicting, a tremendous downside.
Yeah. And think
Okay.
of just one little thing. Nvidia's daily percentage movement is right around anywhere between, just think of it as, if this line is zero, it moves between 3% on the upside and 3% on the downside. If you put your stop loss in, take that in account that it could easily in a day move 3 to 4%
So my stop loss has to be greater than 3%.
outside of its trading band, its standard
Okay.
deviation. So it also includes, if you just bought it yesterday, you may want to put your, consider your stop loss a little closer.
Okay.
If you bought it, 6 months ago, preserving capital is really the name of the game at this point. So you
Okay.
can have a wider stop, but I do think it's necessary to have some level of a trailing stop on this. So that's my
Okay.
take.
Okay, Mark, take it over.
Let me share your screen. Okay.
Well, from my point of view, from a swing trading point of view, I follow my trading guidelines. So no matter what, my trading guidelines say to get out of a position before earnings. So if I were in this position, Nvidia, which I'm not, I would sell today or sell tomorrow, no matter what. Okay. And that's because I'm short-term swing trading. Now, if you're an investor, it's a totally different world. Okay. Depends on how long have you been in this position? Okay. What your profits are, um, what you believe in the fundamentals, and your own due diligence. Okay. So for me, I'd be out, but I do want to look at some charts to show you what I see and what's been happening, not only with Nvidia, but around Nvidia, because this is the second largest stock, okay, in the universe, for us. And when you look at indexes and you look at 401ks and you look at what mutual funds and ETFs have, they're loaded down with basically 7 to 10 stocks, okay, and the S&P 500, which I'll show you right here. The S&P 500, the top 10 stocks, this is a market weighted indice, represent over 30 to 35% of the market weight. So Nvidia, Meta, Berkshire Hathaway, Eli Lilly, but most of the Mag 7. Here's the pattern we've had since we've had the great, Japan debacle in the SPY. You see, we've come up and then we've hit what I call the intermediate resistance level, or my green line of death. Okay. I have some cells just above that. But we, for the last 6 days, 7 days, have been going sideways while we're seeing a short-term 9 moving average come up and squeeze this price action. Now, typically, this would be what you would call a bull flag, okay? A bull flag is when you have upward momentum, you have some coiling and sideways movement, and if you can break out on the top side here and maintain, then that's usually an indication that you're going to go higher, okay? So think about that. The S&P has been waiting around like much of the market for Nvidia, basically. Let's go to the Qs, okay, which is, again, highly sensitive to all these, especially Nvidia, Microsoft, all the Mag 7, same pattern, came right up to the 9. Okay, we're flipping right around there. Now the Qs have come down below the 9. We're starting to see it come down and outside this box. Now, just because it's a bull flag doesn't mean it can't come down. So it's waiting for something to trigger, and that trigger, as far as I'm concerned, is Nvidia earnings. If it comes out stellar and our guidance are knock it out of the ballpark, you'll see this probably break to the top side up to the Bollinger Band, okay? If it doesn't, the possibility and the probability, it might go down. You're looking at the Qs here. We're seeing a rollover of the MACD, a little bit of a rollover of stochastic, and we're seeing the RSI, the momentum, just staying pretty much neutral because we're going sideways. Now let's compare this to the Dow Jones, which does not have all these MAGA, the Mag 7s in them and all these high roller tech stock. It's actually broken out, but it's come up to its initial intermediate level of resistance and has stopped for the last 2 days. It too is waiting now, I believe, for Nvidia, because when Nvidia earnings come out, the tide's either going to come in, okay, and raise all boats, or the tide's going to go out and lower all boats. Now, do I know which way it's going to go? No. That's why, as a swing trader, I get out. That's a 50-50 bet. That's not a bet I'm willing to have with my capital. So let me look at a few other things that you may want to consider, okay? And I want to go out and look at basically who are the customers and how are their charts doing this last week. So let's go to Microsoft. Here's Microsoft. Does that look familiar?
Yeah.
Okay. Microsoft actually has come down below its 9
Yeah.
now for 3 days in a row, and it's going to hit off of its 200. If it breaks down below the 200, you could see more. This is a main customer. Okay, what does Microsoft know? Now, I was in computer business way back when. Okay, for an OEM manufacturer of computers back in the day, and when things got slow, okay, our customers knew they got slow. Okay, and they would know ahead of time, just like with Nvidia. If they're having production problems with their newest chip, they knew that well in advance before we knew it. Maybe a reason why you saw the executive sell, and it may be a reason why you're seeing Microsoft and some of these customers go down. Look at this. We've got a rolling down MACD, not crossed over the signal line yet, but the stochastic has crossed over, and we've got momentum below 50, so negative momentum. And you're seeing that in one of their major customers. Okay, so maybe that's just a one-off. Let's look at Meta. Probably their main customer. Same thing. Came up, sideways movement, and then yesterday and today, okay, we're bouncing a little off the 20, okay, hoping for some good news. But why would Meta? Who is selling Meta? What is forcing Meta down? And with Meta, we're almost crossed on the negative side of the MACD, and we're already below on the stochastic on Meta. Same thing. So okay, so maybe there's two companies that, let's go to Amazon. Amazon doesn't look any better. Had this upward pattern, sideways pattern. Now we're below the 9, we're below the 20, we're coming right down, and we'll see if we bounce off the 200 or go below it like we did. Again, what's going to trigger this to go up or down further? I'm not liking what I'm seeing down here. RSI is below 50. All right, so we got them. What else do we got? Google hasn't done much, but it's gone sideways. Okay, it's still above its 9. It's just going sideways. It's just waiting. It's not really doing much. Okay, I'm just seeing, the MACD is still rolling okay. The stochastic still okay, but where momentum is down below, the 50 level. Again, it's waiting. The thing I see here is the Bollinger Bands are further converging as opposed to diverging, which is what you'd want to see, telling me it's going to trade in a pattern until something makes it break out. And I think that something will be Nvidia earnings. And one more, let's look at Oracle. Oracle is one of their supplier or one of their customers also. Same thing. Came up just like we saw in the indices, green line of resistance. It's just like it's the same chart over and over again. We're waiting. So let's look on the other side, because when I was working in the OEM field, I was in engineering and procurement. So I dealt with suppliers a lot. So if I was supplying, my suppliers were supplying me. If there was a problem, the suppliers would know also. So who's the largest supplier? And let me just show you something else here. Hold please. Okay, you put this up just really quick. So these are Nvidia suppliers as of January of this year. Okay, so Taiwan Semi is 43% of their suppliers. You got others 17%. This is Wistrom. Okay, they're a small little over the counter, but you've got SK Hynix, ASE, Fabrinet, Flex, Amkor, Key, Intel, BYD, Micron, Samsung, Power, which is Quanta Computer, JBL, Western Digital. So let's go look at some of these guys and see what their charts are telling us. Let me come down here. Let me get you back in. And we'll go to Taiwan Semi. Here's Taiwan Semi. Look familiar?
Yeah, started earlier.
What does Taiwan? Yeah, it did. So they might have known a little earlier, and they might, they're involved in whatever production defect is happening, in their newest generation of chip too. So, it's down. It's down below the 50 now. It's down below the 20. Okay. Still heading sideways. But again, right along the green line of resistance, or my, green line of death. So there's Taiwan Semi. We'll just look at a few more. How about a synopsis? Synopsis. Okay. Another supplier down below the 200, down below the 9, down below the 20. Everything's going south on synopsis. So
I
do
think
they
they
know anything?
had their earnings several days ago.
Yeah, their earnings are right here.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is kind of what Trent was talking about. You see what happened with synopsis after earnings? Man, it gapped up, hit the
Yeah.
Bollinger Band, but then it's been down ever since. So that would kind of support what you're kind of saying, Trent. I would think, as a precursor to what you're trying to think about Nvidia. Is that true?
Yeah, I honestly, I think there's just how institutions manage, invest or trade money, trade stocks. They're looking at this as you'll get a pop of some sort. It could be negative news, and you'll get a pop after hours, and they'll suck everybody in and then turn on you. And that's where I think hedging yourself out, so in case that happens. Plus, here's the other thing about all this. It's up 150 some percent, I believe, year to date. It's time to take profits, but you do it on, you sell into it, and then you turn around, you start shorting it. And I think that's, the other side of this. How far can this go down?
This is AMKR, another supplier. Same pattern. Just waiting.
Yeah.
Let's look at ASML. ASML down below the 200 today, kind of trying to get back above it. Hasn't been able to. We got some charts with the stochastics down. We're down on the RSI. It looks like we're going to cross on the MACD. So this chart is telling me we're going lower. We'll see if it hits down here on the intermediate support level and can bounce, or if it does it go under. Again, what do these guys know? These guys supply them equipment for Taiwan Semi, and they're probably tied in really close with Nvidia. So I looked at customers, I looked at suppliers, I looked at indexes. Now let's look at the main player, Nvidia. Here we go. So here's Nvidia. Same pattern, right along the green line of death. We're seeing it's getting squeezed between the green line of death and the 9 on it. This is for swing trading, and this is on a daily chart. It's going to pop one way, and it's going to be tomorrow. Which way? Depends on which comes out. It's just everything is waiting right now. The charts are just neutral, basically, sideways heading. We're just waiting for what's going to happen. So if it goes up, okay, right now, today, we have some sells around 130. We also have an upper Bollinger Band here, and that's sitting at 137. And then this was where our high was that Trent was talking about back in June, was 140.76. So that would be, the 3 lines of resistance on the top side. If we go down, we've got the 50 and the 20 sitting right here. And I think if we have bad news, I don't think they're going to put up too much resistance, but that would be your first level resistance right around 120.76. I think your second level after those two would be around 110.62, as we saw some right in this area here. And your third level is going to be around 102.08. And again, this is for swing trading on the bottom side. And then, of course, you got your lower Bollinger Band and then your 200. Okay, so these are the levels I'm looking at. I'm gonna back it out a year a little and move it over a tad here.
One other element I think needs to be considered is on Friday, Nvidia represented 20% of all of the S&P 500 volume. And the closest one was behind it was right around 6%. So they are a major flywheel in a sense when it comes to these indexes.
Well, that's why you're seeing everything look the same. But the thing that you're
Right.
looking at is their suppliers look the same, their customers look the
Oh
same.
yeah.
This
It's
thing is either going to blow up or it's going to blow down. But from a
what
swing trading position, I would be out because I would have ridden that up. Okay, had I
yeah.
been in it, which I'm not, and I got out when it hit the green line of resistance. And then if it goes back up, I still made my money because I know it's going to swing down again at some point, and I'll catch it. If Trent's right, I'll catch it at the bottom, somewhere down, further down.
Yeah.
But right now, I look at it from a technical point of view, can go either way, depending on
Hmm.
what the news is. And that's why I'm out 50-50. I'm not, those are not the odds I want with my money, 50-50 as a swing trader. So I
Yeah.
get out at the top and let the dice roll. The other thing from a fundamental that you guys know more about, I don't like it that all their executives have sold and no one's bought anything since 2021. None of the executives have bought, from what I understand. Second thing is this production issue. Okay. They've known about this production issue before we knew about it. And I've been in production, back in the computer days with OEMs. And when you say 3 months, it that's the minimum, I think. That's the let's
Yeah.
hope for 3 months. And it could be longer, you know. The chances are for me, from my experience, it could be longer. The third thing is if they do have production issues, how much of that production was supposed to be sold off into revenue of 2024 or this quarter or next quarter and pushed off into 2025? So is that going to affect revenue, okay, and guidance? So
Hmm.
for me personally, if I was looking at it from a fundamental point of view, those would be big red flags for me. Looking at a company that has, I don't know how much they've grown. They've grown and grown and grown, and just
Like a
astronomical revenue over revenue over revenue that is unheard of in the history of the market. So that's
well,
my take, Gary.
if you think about this, they've set themselves up for disaster because they keep hitting these numbers quarter after quarter after quarter that are just astronomical. I guess they're anticipating doubling revenue or something of that sort. It's some big number year over year. And it's like, at what point does it run out of steam? At what point does it disappoint? And when it does disappoint, because it's so gigantic, when it disappoints, it comes down with a thud. And I think
Well, right,
that's the risk of this.
and disappointment could be from going from 300% growth revenue to 100% growth revenue,
Right.
which
Right,
in any
which is
company
so
would be.
good.
Yeah.
Right.
And the other thing is competition. And if you have such a product that has such big margins, someone's going to figure out a way to cut
Yeah.
into that. So Kerry's already talked about AMD, he's talked about Intel. As fast as they get up, that's going to be cutting into Nvidia.
Yeah.
And then I think the last thing is, these things just don't go up forever. And look at their customers. Are they really monetizing this yet? Or are we seeing the monetization of AI in these chips? At some point, they're going to have to show that. Okay.
Yeah.
You're already seeing big tech companies lay people off. We're seeing in the macro world, okay, consumers aren't spending on cars, they're not spending on that stuff. Will get up to these companies at some point because the end customer will be us or
Yeah.
little companies. And if
That's
little companies don't have the money, then it's going to hit. We're seeing the macro economy hit the small guys, and it's moving its way up. We talked about it yesterday on the Two Regular Guys program, how the richer are starting to feel this now.
Yeah.
And that same way with companies. So that's my take on it. I don't know which way, up or down. I know it's going to go one way or the other.
Yeah.
It'll probably be pretty severe. And that's swing trading for me. I'm out.
Okay, let me give you my takeaways.
Okay.
Basically, I had made my mind up that I was going to put a stop loss order this afternoon on Nvidia for 5%. I think I will probably hold it at that 5%. But my big takeaway is I'm going to do it on all of the Magnificent Seven. Any place I got any profits, even if I don't have any profits, because what you've convinced me is this is not just Nvidia week. This is big tech week.
Yeah.
And big tech is going to react almost like a dance. They're all going to do the same thing because they're all tied into this one thing, and that is GPUs. So the way one goes, they'll all go. Now, if it then gives me an opportunity to buy in cheaper, hooray for me.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think ultimately, this is the future. Trent, you mentioned on our stock talk the Joe Rogan, Peter Thiel 3-hour interview.
Yeah.
I'm 1/3 of the way through it, and it is so enlightening. And it has little or nothing to do with AI. It has to do with the development of mankind and how we're progressing into a whole new era.
Yeah.
And I think tomorrow or today is a very structural key day. So
Yeah.
I'm entering my stop loss orders. Got to get to it.
All right, there you got it. 3 guys, 3 regular guys. Harry over there, Mark down there at Nvidia Central, and myself, Trent. Please subscribe, leave comments below. Check us out at www.bus13.ai. That's www.bus13.ai. We have a 14-day free trial, so you can get more of this on our private channel, on our Discord, and on our website. But also, please hit the subscribe button and like our video. Thank you for joining us, and always live loud.